Adrian N. Breitfelder, City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a special session of the City Council to be held on Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting work sessions on Microsoft Copilot implementation and an update on grant initiatives and grant funding.
Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to a special session of the Dubuque City Council for November 4th, 2024. As a reminder to viewers and listeners, due to the nature of tonight's meeting topic, public input is not accepted. However, you may contact the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/council contacts. Attendance for the session is as follows. Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick.
Here.
Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
Wethel.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
And City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you.
Terry, my dear friend, for nearly 40 years, when I think about our friendship, I think about how our families have always shared a basic value set, that everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity and respect. Everyone's your equal, and no one's better than you. And faith without works is dead. I've watched you embody those values as a leader from Dubuque to the countless campaigns, boards, commissions that you served on all across your beloved Iowa. You represent a simple truth about America. We're a great nation because we're great people, good people like you. You've always had my back. Your faith in me has meant so much to me. Congratulations, Terry, on your retirement. And thank you for your service, your loyalty, and your enduring friendship. God bless you and the family.
Just to make sure everybody's caught up to where we're at here, if you didn't realize it from, I think you might have recognized who that was, but if you didn't realize it from the president's message, Terry's retiring, and it's well-deserved, Terry. We had a nice little shindig for you, and I know, and you can blame Mike for everything that just happened, so I know that that's not an easiest way to start a presentation, but it was.
John and I received that and just cried, because it's interesting. When you work with people from when you're young people and young couples together working in volunteer efforts and political campaigns, but it has been a long time, and he was much more accessible when he was vice president and a U.S. senator than he has been. So we're kind of looking forward to mutual retirement so that we can get back in touch. But clearly good people that we've known for a long time, partisan politics aside. It's been a real treasured friendship in our family and with our children, and we're just, thank you. That was a real surprise. And Corey and Mike, thank you too for the surprise this weekend. It's just, few people have the privilege I've had, which is to be able to do for a living what I'm passionate about, and that is community building, and my children feel the same way, and so it's been just a real adventure, but I'm just full of gratitude to all of you and to prior Mayor Buell and prior council members, and certainly have enjoyed and flourished under Mike's incredible management skills. And my colleagues at the city, again, I said it this weekend, who gets to work with just consummate professionals who are positive, who are caring, who are no nonsense, and all are working toward the same end, which is, to build a better Dubuque, along with your leadership and guidance. So it's just been a joy, and I'm not going to get emotional about it. Here.
Before you jump into your report, I have to give Susan Farber credit for us showing that tonight, because it came in today, and we were talking about it, and Susan said, "Why don't you show it?" I thought, I don't know if we can. But we did, because you said yes. So.
Well, it was really a lovely surprise. So, thank you. Yeah.
So feel free to start your presentation if you want.
No, time's wasting. We've got to get going here. I just want to say that we're very grateful. Terry Goodman, Director of Strategic Partnerships. I'm joined here by Justin, who is the assistant and the grant analyst, and also on the phone, I believe, through GoToMeeting, is Andy Seth from Sustainable Strategies DC. And the long and the short of it tonight is, this is my last presentation, but I will tell you that it's all good news. So there's no despair here this evening in terms of the summary that we're about to show you. And I just want to remind you, without taking up too much time, that, you know, these big grants and this overview that I'm going to give tonight and some of the impacts just, you know, from a funding perspective, these programs started in 2021 with the Biden administration. Of course, first was the American Rescue Plan Act, which was passed with the intention to help cities and counties and the whole country restore themselves economically after the pandemic, the devastating economic impact of the pandemic. Right on its heels, the bipartisan infrastructure law was passed, and that was intended to rebuild American infrastructure. And between the two of those bills, there were over $1 trillion in grants that were available to local governments. And frankly, it was a precedent setter because of the ARPA bill in the American Rescue Plan Act, for the first time in history, cities and counties were given direct allocations. I believe we received somewhere in the range of 27 million. And I want you to know we do not include that in our report because that was really a direct allocation to the city, not a competitive grant. What we talk about tonight and in our other reports are competitive grants. The third bill was the Inflation Reduction Act, and that's largely a tax bill, a tax credit bill. That's been a little challenging for us to access because the state of Iowa has not played, the money flows to the state, so the state of Iowa has not played in that program very well, to the disadvantage of many people. So we're going to continue to follow that. Justin's been on top of it and has attended webinars. We talked to White House staff about it when we were there for our trip this spring. So we're in touch with the right people and we're continuing to work on it. But we do have good news on the grant front. I just also want to remind you that we met after those bills came out over 3 years ago. We had 4 community-wide meetings with our city staff, with business leaders, and with nonprofit leadership. So we made sure that the whole community knew about these grants that were going to become available to us. And we have continually, or we've maintained and continued those meetings monthly in 2 groups. One is the Built Infrastructure Group, which is largely city staff and some of our partners, business leadership, Rick Dickinson, and we also have Chandra Rabada from ECIA. But we also have a side-by-side that meets called the Human Infrastructure Group, and that's majority nonprofits in the community who meet with us every month to see what opportunities are available. And just by example, Justin has taken some real initiative here, and last month invited the representative from Dubuque, Ms. Beckwar, to come and talk about 3 grant opportunities that they have coming up in the near future for nonprofits to apply for. So in a way, we are keeping nonprofits at the table, both for the federal grants that are open to them. You'll see where some of our nonprofit partners have received grants in this past 12 to 24 months, but there are more opportunities going forward. So we're really continually trying to identify outside sources and revenues so that we can build the community we all envision and that the City Council has held out before us as a challenge. And so just so you know that that work is continuing. Nothing is ending when I graduate in a few weeks. So moving on. I wanted to show you this document. These are grants we've received in just the last year and a half. It's a total of $128,079,000. And you can look and see from this list, this does include some of our nonprofits, but the city has to apply for the nonprofit in the case of the Our Town NEA Art Grant. And Dubuque actually received 2 of those grants, and we are going to continue to try to pursue those. One was for the Voices building downtown on Central Avenue, and the other was for the Art Museum. And these both of these grants have a very strong component of equity and outreach and engagement in the local community and the neighborhoods in which they're located. Of course, we have the wonderful urban forestry grant from USDA. Every city in Iowa that applied for this received it, and we're very pleased that Dubuque was able to receive a $1.5 million. And I'm going to get it wrong if I tell you how many thousands of trees we need to plant in the next 3 years, but I know Councilwoman Roussel is heading up that effort with the private sector, with the nonprofit sector, Trees Forever, and we're very grateful because we need all hands on deck to get those trees planted. But as you know, our 3 most disadvantaged census tracts downtown have been denuded over the years and do not have shade. So once once again, it's considered by the EPA an environmental justice issue as well, to make sure that we get these trees planted. So that's an exciting grant. We know the US DOT two raised grants, the planning grant and the building grant. We're the only city in the state of Iowa that received the raised grant for $25 million, and we're very grateful. And just a footnote here for you to all understand is that we think it's difficult to get these grants. We work really hard, and everyone pulls. It involves many, many teams, meetings with staff in different departments and outside consultants and engineers in the case of the raised grant and our partner ECIA. And when we're finished and we're so thrilled we receive the grant, just know that there are staff who then have to step in and make this a priority, and that is a lot of work. So just know that federal grants do have a lot of requirements, and staff are diligently pursuing those and making sure that we get these things done on time. It's just that it's not all over when we receive the grant. I just wanted to make that point. Here's one, IEDA. This was ARPA funds. The state received $1 trillion in ARPA funding, and that IEDA had the grant Destination Iowa that went to the Schmidt Island Amphitheater. There was another child care initiative that the governor had established with some of the ARPA money, and that went to Bright Minds campus. I know we toured that twice in the last 2 years with the congressional staff. There were dollars for the AIP dollars for the solar power at the airport and the runways. The big news was gates and pumps. You know, EPA told us, no, your $2 million hasn't been spent yet, we're taking it back, and then called back and said, would you take $7.7 million? And of course we said, yes, and you need to know, we're being transparent, Congresswoman Henson is looking at an $8.8 million grant for gates and pumps too. And EDA, Economic Development Administration, our representative in St. Louis for the region said, you know, I think that's even matchable because they're disaster dollars, so you don't have to have a local match for them. So that is really wonderful and helps us to address that priority that the council had established, you know, get those gates and pumps in, and we're moving forward on that this fall. So that was a very good program. Granger Creek we received last year. We know that the Catfish Creek sanitary sewer situation is dire, urgent, and a top priority. And even after I'm gone, I'm going to be helping with that because we just really need that. That's an infrastructure need that can't wait much longer. So just know that the Granger Creek was also a community project fund from STAG EPA, but it came through Congresswoman Henson's community project. It's formerly known as earmarks, but that's where that funding came from. The FTA, again, we had the low-no EV buses. We got $2.4 million for electric buses. And we then also have the areas of persistent poverty, dual route optimization that Ryan has been working on. We have that grant. Important today, we celebrated the SCASD grant is helping us to return commercial air service to Dubuque, and that's critical priority of council. So we're very pleased. We have COPS hiring program. We were able to get 2 brain health officers funded through grants from Department of Justice, and also 5 new EV charging stations for the public and for visitors to Dubuque alike, and this is a very important addition to our community. Comiskey Park, what joy. I mean, Councilman Sprank, I mean, that is just such a joyful place. It's such a great project, and we were very pleased that that grant program was plussed up and we were able to get nearly $2 million to finish the phase 2. So that's, again, a wonderful program. More airport infrastructure, which is critical, but this is just an example. We didn't include all the nonprofits, but you can see here, you know, state and federal funds, the City of Dyersville, and this is Iowa, received for Field of Dreams $47,500,000 for that program of work out there. That's just the start. There's also Dubuque Museum of Art Museum Expansion received $8 million. And of course, Cottingham and Butler's Child Care Center received $3 million. That's just an example of some of the funds that have been flowing into this community through these important programs, and they're not over. Andy Seth will be on after Justin and I. He will give you a forecast for the future and give you a snapshot. So I need to probably keep moving here. grant totals, just so you can see this now. This is this $185 million that we've been able to secure through grants. And this does not include the funds I just shared with you on the other page. Isn't that correct, Justin?
It is inclusive.
Oh, it is inclusive. Okay. It doesn't include the $27 million from ARPA. That was a direct allocation to the city. Thanks, Justin. And then lastly, we just want to point out to you, we keep these in mind at every meeting with city staff. Here are your top project priorities. And I think if you look at these and you see what we just reviewed on the prior page, we have been trying to stay just laser focused on your priorities for projects that you've set out for us, and we still see more work to be done, but I think we've checked the boxes on a number of these that I'm really proud to say that, again, not just Justin and I and Andy Seth, but city staff and leadership, Mike, Corey, have been helping us to stay very focused on the prize, because we do know that revenues are diminishing in other areas. So we want to make sure we can get these done and make this just the best community that we envision. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Justin, and he is going to talk a little bit more about the grants and the process.
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members and colleagues. My name is Justin Tilgen, technical assistant, grant analyst and assistant. But I just wanted to use this slide here to highlight to you some of the achieved and advancement of the goals. So you'll see that the 8 overarching goals are listed along the bottom there. And those have stayed consistent since about 2020, and as you project forward to 2026. So just wanted to take over the past 24 months here or so, these 22 grants that we received, equaling about $128 million, just to give you an idea of how those dollars line up with helping to meet the goals that you've set as council. So thank you for that leadership. Well, I'd like to tonight discuss how Dubuque's approach to community collaboration has shaped our success in grants and partnerships and created a legacy of what's possible when a community truly comes together. Our model, rooted in people, planning, and partnerships, reflects our belief that everyone in Dubuque has a role in building the future of our city. Upon recently reading an article published by Bloomberg, I was pleasantly surprised to discover yet again that our community has been a shining example of what can be accomplished collectively for generations. To reference a few quotes from the article, this is a Bloomberg article titled "Inside NYC's Playbook for Getting Federal Grant Funds." So they mention here that one of the city's most critical steps has been to create a central task force of about 20 different city agencies to team up on funding proposals. That practice isn't typical in most city governments, as mentioned by the president of the New York Economic Development Corporation. They said in most cities it's more of a Hunger Games approach, where every agency is out on their own and running across conflict over limited dollars. Also, they highlight an application developed by multiple city agencies is also more likely to appeal to federal decision makers because it shows a higher likelihood that the money will be spent efficiently. Another strategy Joshi shared was that when the city is often turned down for grants, it meets with its federal officials to understand what went wrong, receive a debrief, and try again, as highlighted by their third attempt to receive a $96 million grant on their waterfront. So, well, it's worth noting that while large cities like New York are proudly showcase their own collaborative models, here in Dubuque, we've been pioneering this approach long before it became a celebrated trend. Our commitment to engaging residents, aligning with partners, and carefully planning our steps has made Dubuque a leader in its own right, a city where people work together to meet challenges, seize opportunities, and build a strong future. To turn our vision of collaboration into tangible results, beginning 3 years ago, we've implemented structured infrastructure teams and grant procedures designed to maximize impact. Each month, our built infrastructure team, composed of city staff, our regional transportation director, and numerous economic development partners, meets to coordinate efforts on infrastructure projects, ensuring every initiative is aligned and complementary. Similarly, our human infrastructure team brings together city staff and nonprofits to meet the needs of our residents in direct support of your city council priorities. Beyond these core teams, Dubuque is home to a dedicated 28 topic teams that focuses on specific areas like roads, housing, health, arts and culture, and much more. These teams include city staff, community partners, and residents, all of whom bring their expertise and perspective to the table. While these teams may meet regularly, they're also designed to spring into action whenever grant or funding opportunities arise. Like New York's celebrated programs, our topic teams allow us to remain nimble, adaptive, and responsive. Yet our approach is distinctively Dubuque, built on trust, community, and a shared commitment to progress. Our model shows that even a city of our size can achieve remarkable results through well-coordinated, collaborative efforts. We aren't just keeping pace with larger cities, we're setting an example of how effective teamwork can truly transform a community. So to our past, current, and future partners, I want to welcome you to our conversations and thank you all for your efforts. And with that, I will hand it over to Andy Seth, who's joining us remotely to talk about our future funding opportunities for Dubuque. So Andy Seth with Sustainable Strategies.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We sure can, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kavanaugh. And hello. Hello, City Council. Hello, Mike. Hello, others. I am Andy Seth with Sustainable Strategies DC. Been doing this for, 25 plus years, but half of that time I've been working with the City of Dubuque. And it's been an honor to work with Terry for all of those years. She has been an amazing asset to you guys. Just working with cities across the country, everyone needs a Terry Goodman. A lot of places don't have a Terry Goodman, so you're very lucky. I'll talk a little bit just about what's going on looking forward. So if you can go to the next slide. So let me first just start with the appropriations process. We're winding down this year's appropriations process. We're on a continuing resolution until December 20th. They're likely maybe to come back after the election and kick the can down the road a little bit. A lot will depend on who wins the election, how they handle this year's appropriations. But my guess is that this bill will get passed, most likely probably late December, early January. You've got some earmarks in that bill. So it is incumbent on its passage for those earmarks to survive. And that will set the table for funding, regular funding in fiscal year 2025. The federal calendar started October 1st, but the money's not there, but the programs will really start to roll out as soon as the monies are available. And if you click to the next slide, there's going to be a wealth of opportunities, and this is just regular funding. Annual year-to-year funding. But in FY25, we're going to see a lot of the programs that we've taken a serious look at every year for Dubuque needs. This is just a small sampling of programs that have some pretty big dollars that we will take a run at and fingers crossed be successful. And you'll see, it ranges anywhere from infrastructure, transportation, to public safety, to arts, to you name it. So there is no softening in the regular funding that is going to be available next year. As soon as this bill does get passed, they're going to move on to fiscal year 2026 appropriations. That's my next slide. And there's going to be a brand new opportunity. Congress is going to get off to a slow start just because it's a change in Congress, change in administration. But there's going to be a new opportunity to request earmark funding again from your member of Congress. And there's going to be an opportunity to push for these programs for future funding. A lot of these programs get a little bit bigger every year, and we need to encourage that they do. The new administration, whoever it is, will have different priorities than the Biden administration. There's always a flavor to these programs when they do get rolled out. So in this particular administration, it has been sustainability and equity. That will change in some fashion no matter who is president. So we just need to be reactive to what the thrust of what the agencies are going to prioritize for the next 4 years and align our projects with those ideas that are going to be coming out of the White House. So a lot of opportunities moving forward. Be ready early in the year to make some earmark requests. Let me talk next about the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act. So the infrastructure bill, it was a 5-year bill, and we are depending on the program just because a lot of agencies were involved in this, a lot of different grant programs, and they rolled out their funding at different times. So depending on the program, we've still got a few years left, anywhere from maybe 1 to 3 years left, depending on the program, of infrastructure bill money still left out on the street. And again, we take a look at every opportunity that comes down the pike. Dubuque is super aggressive, super coordinated, as Justin said, and very successful at grabbing these monies. And the infrastructure bill was very focused on transportation infrastructure, water infrastructure, recycling. There's going to be a few more of each of those funding opportunities available. So again, we need to be just ready with projects to make those requests to either the state government, which some of the money flows to, or the federal agencies. The Inflation Reduction Act, the next slide, is a different story in that it didn't have the runway that the infrastructure bill did. So we're getting near the tail end of the competitive grant opportunities there. And some of the agencies, EPA in particular, were a little slow in rolling out their programs as it related to the Inflation Reduction Act monies. So for some of these programs, and we're talking about some of them that are on the street right now, including the recycling grant program, we're going to have one more bite at the apple, maybe two, but these monies are truly winding down. So these monies are going to not be available to us, but again, plenty of opportunities nonetheless in remaining infrastructure bill dollars, regular appropriation dollars. If you'll go to the next slide, I'll just end on how we can continue to be just most ready for these dollars. One, projects, just realizing what the funding gaps are in the needs that you have and chasing the funding that matches with what your needs are. Getting your projects as designed as possible, as shovel ready as they can be, so that we can be most competitive for these dollars. And then just, this is your preparation on the city council, just being ready with the match, building the political support, getting the delegation behind these projects. You're competing certainly nationally for this funding, but as is often the case, you're really competing against other Iowa cities in that they're going to make 1-2 awards across the state. And we like to see Dubuque in the winner's circle. So we just need to keep the drumbeat pounding for what your particular needs are. So I'll end there, but just very, very rich opportunities ahead of us. The world is full of money that we can go chase.
Thank you, Andy. And again, thank you, City Council. I just want you to know that the earmark/community project we have pending in the continuing resolution is a high-strength waste addition to the Water and Resource Recovery Center. Just FYI.
All right. Well, Terry, Justin, Andy, thank you very much for joining us remotely. Good to hear your voice. Looking forward to having a chance to chat again. But thank you very much for this overview. I think it's extremely helpful for all of us and the entire community. So we appreciate it. And once again, congratulations, Terry. And thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do.
Thanks all.
All right. Well, there being no further business in the work session, we will be adjourned for about 1 minute and then come back for the regular meeting.